Hello everyone, and welcome back. Welcome back to Underground. Because I think we can divide media field nowadays in three, at least three categories. One is MSM, that never ever can be trusted. Another one is this alternative media field, which is packed with this decoys, right? Projects that position themselves to be independent in reality are just continuation of MSM. Many of them, not all of them, obviously, but many of them. And there is underground, right? Channels that are in strict shadow ban, suppressed from all sides, and I guess I am right there in underground. So, welcome back, dear friends. Today is, of course, 19th of July, 3 p.m. now, Moscow time. We have a nice sunny day today, and later on this evening, me, my family members will go for a little walk. At least that's what our plans are, and I'll make some videos in the city here in Moscow, and I will drop video on Patreon and Boosty channels either later on today or tomorrow as additional extra difference. And so yes, it is of course community chat first and foremost. It's a big community chat today, traditional, and fundraising stream. So dear friends, if you enjoy my work during the week, if you like my work, my programs, please consider to support my work and this independent media project of mine, so that I will have a little more stimulus to continue this work into next week. You can donate if you want or through several means under this video. In description box you can find a PayPal platform that you can use for donations. So you can donate through Boosty platform. Link is also under the video in description box. You can subscribe to my Patreon page or page on Boosty. That will be also a great support, of course. Monthly subscription starts from about $5 a month, and then you can choose your level of support. And dear friends, in order this project to be in a more or less safe place, our communities on Patreon and Boosty needs to at least double. So I welcome everybody who will join our communities there. And during the stream itself, right now you can use a super chat feature on my Rumble channel, which is monetized, unlike YouTube channel. So you can use super chat feature on Rumble, donate to the channel, and same time highlight any topic you want. Or you can use a premium subscription gift card on Rumble for donations, right? Each gift card is basically $5 donation to this project, and I've seen on other channels that people are using this feature to donate to the projects, and a few members of our community also are supporting my work this way while through this premium subscription gift card. Anyways, all the links under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And just in case, let me drop in a YouTube chat link to my Rumble channel, dear friends. Live streams are simultaneously on both YouTube and Rumble channels of mine. And if you have an account, you can join our community on Rumble right now. Link should be visible in your YouTube chat. Okay, that's been said. First, I'll go with the news that I bookmarked for you today for this program. And after news segment, I'll join community chat, and if there is any questions through PayPal, Boosties, Super Chats, of course, I will react first on that, and then I will go through chat. And whenever I see commenter directed to me, and capital Q will be a good indicator that this comment is directed to me, so use capital Q if you cannot use supporter platforms. And I will try my best to be informative while reacting to your questions and the comments, dear friends. It's all the same ways, right? Veterans know perfectly well, but I'm explaining this to members of community that maybe our first time on this Sunday traditional community chat. Okay, let's go now. Let's go now through news, and I will start with This reporter that past night Russian forces conducted yet another long-range, large-scale retaliatory strike on military, logistical, energy infrastructure of the Kiev regime in different directions, but primary trajectory, let's say, of Russian missiles and drones was Kiev once again. And the reports are that this was possibly largest Russian long-range strike on legit targets in Kiev since the beginning of special military operation. I never counted number of drones and missiles that were launched towards Kiev, since there are some more big guns, so hard to tell. But many media outlets actually are claiming that this was the biggest or largest strike on military logistical infrastructure in Kiev by Russian forces. Nevertheless, it was a big strike, and we have here in Russian media all sorts of reports about it. Let's go with the RIA Novosti's report that Russian forces launched one of the most massive attacks on targets in Kiev. So, according to Strana UA, by the way, so-called media outlet from Kiev-controlled territory, this was actually largest attack on the city using ballistic missiles since the beginning of the special military operation, although Russian Defense Ministry didn't make such a claim. It only shared with the public some information about targets that was struck inside the Kiev. Let me give you details on that. Radionics and Spetsoboron Mash, GANK Artyom, associated with the production of Flamingo missiles, was targeted and damaged significantly, if I would not use the word destroyed. Kiev 90, another facility, another company, facilities were was also targeted, and they used to produce at least elements and the components for the Neptune MD guided missiles. Another enterprise that was struck was Oakline, which is responsible for production of parts for the long-range drones. Also, Nova Pochta terminal, used for storing dual-use products and assembly drones, robotic systems and electronic warfare equipment was struck and destroyed in the Kiev region. That was a Kiev itself, but in the Kiev region, Tarasovka Logistics Center, Antel Properties was also struck, where components for the production of drones were located. Additionally, fuel and lubricant storage tanks for the Kiev regime's forces were hit in Yuzhny port in Odessa region. Explosions were also reported in Izium in the Kharkov region and also in Sumy. Following the strikes on Kiev last week, Vladimir Zelensky acknowledged that the Ukrainian forces failed to shut down a single Russian ballistic missile. Meanwhile, according to the Ministry of Defense, almost all Ukraine's Western missile defense systems had been deployed during that attack. And unlike previous Russian long-range strike on Kiev, this time around, Kiev did make the claims that they shut down at least half of Russian missiles, although I mean, I would take that claim with a grain of salt, pinch of salt, actually, or the mountain. Overall, dear friends, according to reports, more than 40 missiles were deployed by Russian armed forces for strikes on targets in Kiev and 125 attack drones. And right now on your screen, you can see some images with the aftermath of this retaliatory Russian strikes. It was a big one. And as I said, Kiev regime itself claimed that 166 aerial vehicles were targeting Kiev past night. Among them, 10 Zircon missiles, 25 Iskander M missiles, 3 Onyx missiles, 3 Kh-59-69 missiles, 125 attack drones. And yet again, whenever we are receiving any reports from Kiev-controlled territory, we should take it with their actually mountain of salt, by the way. As I said, Kiev regime claimed that they shut down most of the Russian missiles, but if they did shut down most of Russian missiles, then what about these images? Was it an alien attack, or it was Russian missiles still? Anyways, of course, Kiev was not just one direction of Russian strikes. There are reports that in Dnipropetrovsk, military logistical energy infrastructure was eliminated by Russian advanced Giran drones. Also, Giran drones targeted legit targets in Zaporozhye region. You can see on your screen some of their results or aftermath, let's say, massive fire there in one of the places of arrival of Giran drones. Also, Odessa region. In Odessa region, military logistical energy infrastructure was struck by Russian troops in different parts of Odessa region. And not just at nighttime, but during the day, dear friends, the Russian armed forces continue to strike legit targets in Odessa region in different directions. You can see on your screen aftermath of recent strikes that happened literally a few hours ago. There are different reports. According to some, Russian militaries deploy more than 10 missiles to eliminate certain targets in Odessa region. Also, there was a massive explosions in the Kherson region, where Russian Kiev-controlled part of the Kherson region on the right bank of the Dnieper River. Russian armed forces were eliminating legit targets there. Also, in the Kharkov region, Russian armed forces deployed their Banderol cruise missiles that are relatively new missile, by the way, that lately has been deployed quite often by Russian armed forces. These Banderol cruise missiles are quite often launched from Russian attack drones, actually. So in Kharkov, these Banderol cruise missiles eliminated Nova Pochta warehouse, which is obviously used by Kiev regime for military purposes. We all know that perfectly well. And also we have reports that Russian armed forces conducted the strikes on 3 more vessels that were heading towards Odessa region, ports of Odessa region, and were carrying certain goods for Kiev regime's armed forces. So this sort of a maritime blockade of Kiev-controlled territory continues to be implemented by Russian militaries. And hopefully politicians will not get involved, and the Russian militaries will have opportunity to finalize this work and completely cut Kiev-controlled territory from any capabilities of receive any goods from either Black Sea or from Danube River. That's been said, dear friends. Head of Russian General Staff Gerasimov visited one of the headquarters of Russian group of forces, East group of forces, to be more precise, I believe. And let me give you details what was said there during this inspection. So fighters from East group of forces have liberated the village of Volne in the Dnipropetrovsk region. The Russian Defense Ministry reported about it. And let me show you on the map a location of this settlement. That's the Volne, small settlement area. I used to be there. There used to be village, I guess, big village, but right now all I can see is I don't know, maybe dozen of buildings there. But nevertheless, it's a progress in Russian armed forces establishing control over more and more territories and are liberating more and more territories from this Western backer Nazi and terrorist regime of Zelensky. And as I said, Gerasimov visited one of the group, not West group of forces, yes. And let me give you details of what kind of conversation had happened there. So, Chief of the General Staff of the Russian Armed Forces, Valery Gerasimov, noted the success of the West Group of Forces in the liberating the DPR and outlined future objectives. Basically, he went through all the group of forces, right, and highlighted successes that Russian troops have on the battlefield. He visited the command post where he heard reports from the commander, Colonel General Sergei Kuzovlev, and other military leaders. Their main task being accomplished by the West Group of Forces to liberate the territory of the Donetsk People's Republic together with the South and Sand Group of Forces. And this could be quite confusing, dear friends, because there is a mix on a battlefield, right? When it comes to deployment of units of different groups of forces. And that's why Dnieper Group of Forces, for example, that mostly operates on the Dnieper River in the Kherson region, are also deployed in Zaporozhye region, right? South Group of Forces that you might intuitively think that are operating strictly in the southern sectors of the front line quite often are being seen in the northern sectors of the front, right? Sand Group of Forces might be units of Sand Group of Forces might be not just in the central sectors, but also either in the south or either in the north. I'm not military expert. I don't know what is behind of this mix, right? But I guess that's how military operations are conducted, and their deployment of groups units from different groups of forces probably also confuses their hostile side, right? As it can confuse everybody else, right? So, anyways, let's continue with their other statements that was made during this visit on one of their in one of the headquarters of group of forces by Gerasimov. The fighters repelled attempts by Ukrainian armed forces to break through the western part of Kupiansk and push the Russian army back to eastern bank of the Oskol River. South of Borovo, their liquidation of Ukrainian formations on the eastern bank of the Oskol River continues, and fighting is underway in Podliman settlement. Units of 25th Army complete their liberation of Krasny Liman, and that's a big deal, by the way. Krasny Liman officially being stated to be liberated. Their enemies' organized defense in the city has been broken, and dear friends, when it comes to Krasny Liman, or Liman as it's also known, I believe operational control over the city, Russian armed forces established at least several weeks ago, right? But Russian Defense Ministry, being conservative institution, quite often takes a lot of time before acknowledging success of Russian armed forces on the battlefield, right? And there is instances when we have video confirmations, photo confirmations about liberation of this or that settlement by Russian troops, and it takes sometimes even a week or more for Defense Ministry before they will acknowledge that, yes, this settlement is under our control actually now. So very same is happening with the Krasny Liman. No one should be surprised by this. West group of forces are making successful progress in their Svete Gore National Park, destroying enemy formations in Svetogorsk and Chushurova areas when it comes to South group of forces after liberating Konstantinovka. And you see, by the way, Konstantinovka is a central sector of the front line, right? We can argue, but it was a South group of forces, units, formations from South group of forces that were very active in the process of liberating Konstantinovka. Yet again, this mix is happening constantly when different units from different groups of forces are operating all over the map, right? The Third Army advancing in the direction of Slavyansk and Kramatorsk liberated Piskunovka and reached the outskirts of Nikolaevka, which is true, by the way. Russian troops are conducting artillery preparations basically for quite some time now, and maybe even during the next week we will see battles beginning for the strategically important town right now, which stands, which is located east of Slavyansk, right? So soon, I believe we will see reports of Russian troops being present inside Nikolaevka, and hopefully entire this area will be liberated as soon as possible. Although, of course, Russian militaries will take whatever time is necessary to minimize casualty numbers among Russian troops. What else was stated during that meeting of Gerasimov with the high-ranking officials? He went to comment on a Sand group of forces. So units are developing offensive north of Krasnoarmeysk and are fighting in Dobropolye and Anovka. The village of Lenina has come under Russian control, and the liberation of Shevchenko, Krasnoyarsk, and Svetly is being completed. Also, good update from Gerasimov there on the progress of the Russian armed forces on the battlefield. And if head of Russian general staff is visiting headquarters of Russian groups of forces and is inspecting the situation on the spot, well, head of Kiev regime's general staff, Sirsky, and his future is being questioned on a Kiev-controlled territory because, dear friends, past several days there, after Zelensky removed from position of defense minister Fyodorov, there is a mass demonstrations that been organized throughout the Kiev-controlled territory in some major cities, including Kiev, with demands to restore Fyodorov on a position of defense minister and to sack Sirsky. Right, and as of now, Zelensky has not made no decision on this matter. Reports are that he is meeting with the different commanders of Kiev regime's forces, and some media outlets already beginning to speculate that Zelensky is being afraid because these organized demonstrations are not just random ones. Behind these demonstrations stand NGOs that are financed through Soros. Financed through different funds in Europe, right, by globalists basically, and I guess Zelensky is afraid about his own chances for safety and to maintain power, and therefore reports are that he's actually considering now to sack Sirsky. Also, we will see what is going to happen, but protests gaining momentum actually on the Kiev-controlled territory, and for like 3-4 days now we are seeing these protests. Probably it will continue, and I have seen some videos, by the way, in which these protesters are not just demanding Fyodorov to be restored. It's a Fyodorov, isn't it? Name of that former defense minister, whoever that creature is, it does not matter. So they are demanding not just that former defense minister to be restored in a position of a defense minister, but Sirsky to be sacked. And I see videos, by the way, when people are going after Zelensky himself. And it well might be that this protest movement will quickly turn against Zelensky, big time. We might actually see yet another so-called Maidan being played out in cities controlled by this Nazi-fascist regime in Ukraine. Well, might be the case, but yet again, fate of Sirsky is in question, and as pressure increases on Zelensky, probably possibility or chances that Sirsky going to be removed from position of head of general staff will increase parallel to that pressure. Either way, very different situations, isn't it? By the way, head of Russian general staff is inspecting headquarters of a group of forces, is busy with their operational stuff, and Sirsky is afraid of his life, right, and afraid of his career. Okay, we will see what's going to happen. Also, dear friends, well, we have this report today that I saw on Kirill Fyodorov Vayna Istoria Oruzhye channel, pro-Russian patriotic channel, by the way. And you can see satellite imagery there of destroyed Russian Tu-95 strategical bomber. And a few days ago I reported that strike was conducted on one of the Engels airfield, basically, allegedly, according to reports on number of sources. This happened on 16th of July, and some sources claim that Tu-95 strategical bomber was struck. We did not have no photo imagery of that at the time, but now satellite imagery emerged, and yes, it looks like on 16th of July there was another attack on Russian nuclear triad orchestrated by NATO member states, and yet again, nuclear red line was crossed by enemies of Russia, and Did you see any Russian retaliation on any NATO member state in past few days? You didn't, isn't it? I did not see either. I didn't see either. And well, this is probably the answer to the questions that many people are raising. How long Russia going to tolerate these long-range attacks on the Russian Federation and red lines being crossed literally on daily basis by NATO member states? And answer is on your screen right now. My personal take is that in no circumstances Russian president will ever green light Russian militaries and security services to restore deterrent with the collective West. That's what I think personally, that Vladimir Putin, president of Russia, will never ever green light Russian security services and the militaries to restore deterrent with the collective West, because that will demand retaliatory strikes on these NATO member states, because this is the only way Western ruling class will listen and even try to take in account Russian position. Right? Warnings from Moscow, we all know, does not work. And there is no reasons to believe, dear friends, that on the 5th year of this war, Russian president will suddenly change his attitude towards Western ruling class and will go for deterrence to be restored. He's not going to do it, no matter what, right? Russian nuclear triad has been attacked several times, right? Russia lost quite a number of strategical bombers as a result of these attacks that are orchestrated by NATO member states, and they are disfocused on Russian strategical aviation, dear friends, for a reason, right? For a reason. They are preparing for a war with Russia, and they are quite open about it, and while destroying Russian strategical bombers, they are downgrading, decreasing capabilities of Russian forces for retaliatory strikes on NATO member states, because each such bomber is a unique piece of equipment and carries, in some cases, depending what missiles they will launch, can carry dozen or even 24 of cruise missiles, right, equipped with either conventional warheads or, if necessary, nuclear warheads. So losing each such a unique piece of equipment is a big deal. It is as big as it can get, right? You don't attack nuclear triad, nuclear forces of nuclear countries. You just don't do this. But, well, looks like Western ruling class is emboldened so much so with the impunity with which they are basically crossing the red lines with Russia on daily basis and killing tens of thousands of Russian citizens, in the process destroying infrastructure in Russian Federation for tens of billions of dollars, at this point probably for hundreds of billions of dollars, that, well, they are willing to cross even nuclear red line whenever they feel like it. And this will continue, dear friends. If any of you are optimistic about Putin and think that he will actually authorize Russian security services and militaries to restore deterrent with the collective West, even if that means retaliatory strikes, because that's the only way, then I hope you are right, man. I think there is no reasons to believe that will happen, but same time, I hope you are correct and I'm wrong in my skeptical attitude towards Putin and his possible next steps. So that is that, by the way. Yet again, Russian nuclear triad was targeted by NATO member states on 16th of July. There is a visual confirmation the strategical bomber was destroyed, right? And nothing happened. None of those NATO member states that were involved there, US and UK, obviously first and foremost, pay any price for that. Is it normal? No, it is not normal, but that's the situation, right? That's the situation. And if you dig deep, right, in order to understand, if so, then what should we expect in the future, right? Then you might end up in a very dark place, Bob. You might find yourself in a very dark place, because it is absolutely unacceptable when one side is engaged in a total war with you, right, while using plausible deniability, and you are not even attempting to retaliate. I mean, this cannot end well for a country that is ignoring attacks on itself. It's just a simple logic, right? One don't have to be genius to understand this, and only hope I have personally is that maybe somehow Russian security services, Russian militaries will succeed persuading President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, that there is no any other option left but to restore the deterrent with the collective West. Otherwise, situation gonna get extremely dark. And hopefully they will succeed, right? Because otherwise, nothing good gonna happen, man. If we continue to ignore collective acts of war that collective West is committing. And by the way, also you might say, well, there is maybe Putin is changing his attitude because lately there was a increase in retaliatory strikes when it comes to some military, logistical, energy infrastructure inside the Kiev, for example, and other directions. And well, increase is real, right? Clearly, Russian militaries are targeting, for example, legit targets on the Kiev territory more often now than in previous years. But question I have, therefore, why these enterprises were operating for 4+ years? I mean, let's start from the beginning, right? How come that Russian military is only now, on the 5th year of this war, get permission or green light to eliminate these military industrial facilities inside the Kiev or elsewhere? What Russian president was waiting for 4.5 years? Was he in a sleeper? He did not know what was going on? And yet again, whatever the case, right? I don't even care what Putin's justifications are, man. I literally don't care if Putin is alive or dead. I despise that guy, right? Honestly, man. And his inner circle, all of them, man, in my personal opinion, are disgrace. But question is, will this increase in long-range attacks on legit targets in Kiev or elsewhere? Will this stop NATO countries to produce drones and missiles and further increase strikes on Russia? And the answer is obvious, no. No, if you want to stop long-range attacks on Russian Federation, then you have to restore the deterrent with the collective West, with the countries that producing these weapons, right? And they are launching these weapons while hiding behind their Ukrainian proxies. Isn't it? And that's why, by the way, no matter how hard Russian militaries will go on any targets in Kiev or elsewhere, every day we are receiving reports about hundreds of long-range drones being launched to strike deep into Russia. And every day civilians are dying and infrastructure is being damaged and in some cases completely wiped out from the face of the earth, as it happened yesterday, for example, with these massive logistical centers of Wildberries company, right? So past night was no exception. Defense Ministry intercepted 140 Ukrainian/NATO drones over their Belgorod, Bryansk, Voronezh, Kaluga, Kursk, Rostov, Moscow regions, Krasnodar Krai, Crimea, Azov, and the Black Seas. 140 drones were intercepted, but some drones, unfortunately, did manage to bypass air defenses and cause some damage. For example, we have this report today that Ukrainian Air Forces targeted 2 tankers at the key fuel terminal for Kazakhstan. Caspian Pipeline Consortium was struck again, basically. Let me give you details on that. During their loading operations at the single pointer moorings, VPU-1 and the VPU-3, 2-seat, that's a technical terminology there that I don't really know much about. In a portal area, when this loading of their oil was happening, 2 sea tankers, Asia, carrying oil from Tengiz Chevron and Nissos Ios, and carrying oil from Kazakhstan BV and Maten Kazmuney Gaz National Company, were subjected to targeted terrorist attack using unmanned aerial vehicles, drones, by the way, right? 2 tankers were struck. Fire broke out on their Asia vessel, which was quickly extinguished. There were no injuries or casualties among CPC personnel. CPC is a Caspian Pipeline Consortium personnel or contractors. Both tankers remain their floater, and their experts are currently assessing the extent of damage. All loading at the terminal was suspended and the fuel spill was avoided. So yet another attack on Russia and also on Kazakhstan, Caspian Pipeline Consortium. And well, dear friends, when I saw this report, I was thinking maybe that's how London is sending message to Astana, right? That they should not even try. They should not even try to stop British, American, Ukrainian terrorists from assembling drones on Kazakhstani territory and launching those drones to strike deep into Russia. Otherwise, London and Washington will simply cut Kazakhstan from global energy market. Maybe that's what is happening, dear friends, because obviously these attacks are orchestrated by London and Washington, even though American companies, American energy companies, are part of CPC, Caspian Pipeline Consortium, but nevertheless, strategical defeat of Russia is much more important for the Western ruling class, and that includes, of course, American ruling class, than a couple of bucks that they might make or not selling this Kazakhstani oil. And so I think this is clear message, by the way. This is a blackmail of Astana by Western ruling class, by Washington and London. To be more precise, this is blackmail and clear message to Kazakhstan leadership not to even attempt to stop American, British, and Ukrainian terrorists from assembling drones on the Kazakhstani territory and then launching those drones to strike deep into Russia in southeastern regions of the Russian Federation. That's what is happening, in my personal opinion. This is not random developments, for sure, right? And when you try to explain why they are attacking Kazakhstan, right? What is the reason? What can be the reason that they are targeting Kazakhstan? And that's the explanation that I come up with. That they want Astana to continue ignoring terrorist activity of UK, US, and Ukraine from Kazakhstani territory directed against Russia. I don't know if this will work or not, or we will find out, but I think that's what is going on there. Same time, NATO member states continue their terrorist activity in the Black Sea and the Azov Sea. And today I saw this report on Kirill Fyodorov's channel that past night 13 more vessels, including 2 floating cranes, were targeted, mostly in Azov Sea, although in the Black Sea also. And also reports are that due to extremely difficult situation now when it comes to presence of these Ukrainian/NATO drones in Azov Sea, over the Azov Sea, also same goes for Black Sea. Rubicon unit, special purpose unit, was deployed by Russian forces to clear the skies, basically, to clear the skies from enemy drones. Hopefully they will be successful. Reports are that more than 200 specialists from Rubicon formation have been redeployed in this direction in just past 2 weeks, dear friends. Given the reports that I see in different sources, about 150 vessels were struck and damaged or destroyed by enemy drones in Azov and the Black Sea. A lot, huge damage there, huge damage, and none of it would happen if Russian President Vladimir Putin authorized Russian security services and their militaries to restore deterrent with their enemy, with the collective West, with the Western ruling class. None of this would happen, but yet again, you tell me what Russian president is thinking, where he is, man, where his mind is, right? In which freaking universe? He's not really here with us, clearly, right? Because, that's what I think anyways. Best decision he can make at this point, if you ask me, is to resign. Just resign, man. Get lost. Just get lost. But he's not gonna do that, obviously. By the way, he's not going to do this, and his late years in power gonna be total devastation, man. I think I'm afraid his later years in power that we are observing basically right now is going to be total freaking disaster for Russia, and it is already a disaster. But you know, but nevertheless, sir. Thanks God, Russian militaries and security services are doing whatever they can in the current circumstances, right, to minimize the damage. We all understand that they cannot operate in a ways that they think are absolutely necessary without, at least in certain directions, at least without getting green light from political leadership of the country, because there is a subordination in the place, right? But thanks God, the Russian securities and militaries are doing whatever is actually possible in these circumstances when they are fighting basically with their hands being tied behind the backs. And you know, if you keep that in mind, you will understand how scale of this tremendous work that is being done by militaries and securities men to secure Russia, to secure Russian people. Let's continue with some other news. And before I go through other details, other news that I bookmarked for this news segment, let me once again highlight, dear friends, that this is a Sunday traditional community chatter and fundraising stream. And if you were okay with my work throughout the week, if you like my work, basically my programs, please consider to support this project of mine. You can donate through PayPal. You can donate through Boosty platforms. You can subscribe to my Patreon or Boosty pages. And before I end live stream, I will check both, by the way, Patreon and Boosty. Maybe we will have new members there in the community. Links are under this video, dear friends, in the description box. And during the stream, you can also use super chat feature on Rumble and premium subscription gift card on Rumble. As of now, there was no super chats. There was one premium subscription gift card from Viper, and I will highlight that after news segment. And let me drop in YouTube chat once again link to my Rumble channel, dear friends, in case you are interested to use those features, super chat or premium subscription gift card to support. Okay, that's being said, of course, many thanks to everybody who ever supported and continues to support my work and keeps this project alive in this field of news and political commentary, and keeps me in this field also. Thank you very much. That's been said, dear friends. Let's continue with some other news, and let me see. I'm going through so many news, dear friends, that I don't even remember what I have bookmarked, right? What I chose to share during the program, because I always have to share, choose, isn't it? Because I cannot share all of it. Otherwise, program will be like 24-hour long. So let's go through Middle Eastern developments, dear friends. The US acknowledged that they lost at least 2 more military personnel as a result of retaliatory strikes by Iranian militaries. I reported earlier in my programs that given their scale of Iran's retaliatory strikes, there was a high probability that US actually lost a significant number of its military personnel, killed, wounded, and CENTCOM acknowledged they're losing 2 military personnel. I think they are downgrading actual casualties, at least by 10, right? But yeah, they acknowledge, at least they acknowledge that they are losing staff. Hexeter also acknowledged, head of Defense Secretary of US. He acknowledged that they lost military personnel. He stated, Pentagon's, and let me give you some quote here. Their sacrifice only strengthens our resolve, Hexet wrote on X. He was commenting on a previously released statement from the US Central Commander. acknowledging loss of 2 military personnel. It stated that 2 U.S. service members in Jordan were killed in action while repelling Iranian attack using ballistic missiles and the drones. Another American service member is listed as missing in action. And yet again, I think Pentagon is downgrading actual casualty numbers at least by 10, giving the scale of Iran's retaliatory strike. And Iran is on offensive, by the way. If you think US is on offensive, no. It's Iran is on offensive, and I don't think Iran is going to stop. Iran has no incentive to stop now, eliminating, literally erasing from the face of the earth US military assets in the region, and it will make all the sense if Tehran will not even give a slightest chance to Washington to get engaged in nonsensical talks again, right? And I'm going to show you one of the videos now, dear friends, of impact impact of one of the Iranian, or few Iranian missiles actually, on one of the military bases, one of the U.S. military bases in the Middle East. This happened at the Muwafaq Salti Air Base in Jordan. Maybe during this strike, U.S. military personnel was neutralized. Well, might be their case. And video is this one, by the way. Look. Funny. And there is another one. And this is U.S. military personnel is filming, by the way, this attack on a military base. And as you can see in this video itself, Iranian missiles are basically smashing U.S. assets throughout the region with ease. Because remember, first waves of Iranian strikes, once U.S. leadership decided to escalate again, first waves of strikes were going after eyes of U.S. militaries, I mean radar stations, right? And now when radar stations have been eliminated, many of them, of course, Iranian long-range attacks are becoming deadly, as deadly as ever, right? Because in many cases, U.S. military bases don't even know that missiles are coming, because they no longer have any freaking radars to monitor the skies, right? So Iran is on offensive, actually, when it comes to this long-range tit-for-tat exchange of the strikes, and I don't think they're gonna stop. I don't think they have any incentive to stop, actually, right? If anything, Iran probably will further escalate these long-range attacks. And well, why wouldn't they, when we are receiving this kind of news that in Jordan, there was not just casualties among U.S. military personnel, but also a lot of military equipment was damaged and destroyed, including about 20 Black Hawk helicopters. One of the bases was struck by Iran in Jordan, where there was a mass deployment of U.S. aerial assets that were evacuated from GCC countries, from countries that are closer to Iran. And as a result of this Iranian retaliatory strikes, even New York Times acknowledges that U.S. is losing a lot of military assets, including aircrafts and, to be more specific, Black Hawk helicopters, dozens of them, right? Which is definitely a big deal, because I said, dear friends, during their actual next phase of war, right, full-scale war, and you might think we are already there, but I still think this is still tit-for-tat exchange, because the next phase of a war will include ground invasion. I'm quite sure about it. It will include ground invasion, and for ground invasion, especially in the southern eastern part of Iran, which is going to be one of the main directions of ground invasion. Well, of course, U.S. will need a lot of helicopters, right? they will need a lot of helicopters. They might try to land a significant portion of military personnel with amphibious warships, but this will happen. This could be planned after a first wave of invasion, right, which will be conducted by US troops on helicopters. Because otherwise, if US vessels will get too close to Iran's coastline, they will be targeted straight away. So most likely US will deploy helicopters, mass number of helicopters, or at least that was a plan, to deploy massive number of helicopters and transfer troops this way into the southeastern part of Iran, where Baluchi minority lives, and there is some Baluchi resistance forces there, terrorist organizations, by the way, armed groups that US probably will try to use also. And there is another direction, Kurdistan, right? Iraqi Kurdistan, from where US will definitely try to enter Iran also. Either way, they need a lot of helicopters. They need a lot of transport helicopters, right, to deploy troops during the first wave of invasion of Iran. And Iran knows that. Iran knows that. They have a good enough intelligence to know where exactly US militaries are hiding these transport helicopters and other military assets. And well, as a result of successful strike, about 20 of those Black Hawks were eliminated, among many other assets, by the way. This is a big deal, I believe. Same time, of course, Iran continues to deny airspace to enemy forces, and their videos are circulating about interception of another MQ-9 drone of US militaries, and it's not just an interception video, but also there are videos on the ground where fragments of this MQ-9 drone were filmed. And at this point, one might ask her how many of those MQ-9 drones US still has left, and probably not. Answer is not that many. Not that many, because I mean, every other day they are losing one or two these MQ-9 drones, man. Literally every other day. So probably, I mean, even before MOU was agreed between the sides, there were reports that US already lost about 50% of its MQ-9 drones. So now this number could be up to 60%, maybe higher, right? And this information just once again highlights that US militaries or US Air Force or maritime aviation cannot go full gravity bombs with full gravity bombs against Iran, because most likely they will be shut down. They will be shut down over the Iranian airspace. So they are still continue to use mostly long-range means of strike, cruise missiles, obviously, and first and foremost, although ATACMS missiles were also used to attack Iran from GCC countries. I will get to that point in a minute. But mostly it's cruise missiles, and by the way, US stockpile is melting. US stockpile of these long-range missiles are melting, and one might ask question, what the hell is wrong with Washington? What the hell is wrong with Pentagon? Why they are doing this stuff, right? Why they are basically harming the US itself and US defensive capabilities? I wonder how long it will take before at least resigned US generals and colonels will began talking about dangers that Trump's administration is creating for US itself, because they are basically running out of weapons, many strategical weapons, not strategical weapons usually are associated with nuclear weapons, but US clearly is running out of many weapons that are extremely crucial for military capabilities of this country. Anyways, I just mentioned, isn't it, that even though mostly cruise missiles are used by US to attack Iran, ATACMS missiles were deployed too, quite often. And right now on your screen, you can see, dear friends, image that depicts launch of two ATACMS missiles from HIMARS multi-launch rocket system in Kuwait, from Kuwaiti territory towards Iran. And well, this is the factual evidence and justification of Iran's retaliatory strikes on Kuwait. If anyone will start whining about Iranian strikes, well, that's why they've been targeted, by the way. They are allowing US to use their ground for attacks against Iran. That's an act of war committed by Kuwait and any other country that allows US to use their territory for attacks. It's just that simple, right? And Iran, of course, retaliates hard on these GCC countries. And we have this report, for example, that 2 Eurofighter Typhoon jets of the Kuwaiti Air Force were destroyed in Iranian ballistic missile strike that targeted their hangars in Ali Al Salem Air Base in Kuwait. Legit target, and it was eliminated. -2 Eurofighters in Kuwaiti Air Force. Also, by the way, of course, I have said many times before that neither Russia, neither China, neither rest of humanity actually can afford the Western ruling class to succeed in their Middle Eastern chapter of the global strategy. It's extremely dangerous for all of humanity and human civilization, I will argue, and therefore, not surprisingly, Russia's foreign minister is active again in the diplomatic field, and he is talking to his counterparts from GCC countries to put some pressure basically on them, right, and to persuade not to get engaged directly in this war against Iran that US Western ruling class is waging. For example, we have reports that Sergei Lavrov, head of Russian foreign ministry, held a phone conversation with the Minister of Foreign Affairs of United Arab Emirates, Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan. And of course, during their discussion, they talked about situation in the region. And I'm quite sure, by the way, real reason of conversation was to persuade UAE to stay out of this war. And UAE, you know, dear friends, is extremely influenced by Western ruling class, and is extremely hawkish towards Iran and risks a lot. UAE leadership maybe not really understands how much they are risking, because UAE might cease to exist if they continue on this path. And probably at this point, you know, maybe UAE already crossed so many red lines. I think that's exactly the case. That probability that UAE will get dissolved, will undergo full-scale disintegration is I think, extremely high. Maybe even inevitable. But nevertheless, understandably so, Russian deep stater, and Lavrov is, of course, part of a deep state, foreign ministry. Russian deep state tries whatever is possible to keep these GCC countries out of this war, because if anyone does understands what their actual plans of the Western ruling class is, of course, Russian deep state understands that, right? And wants to make sure that Western ruling class will fail in their Middle Eastern chapter, because they have to. They have to. We as a humanity cannot afford Western ruling class to succeed, man. No way. Too risky, too dangerous. Also, when it comes to Iranian retaliatory strikes, we have reports that a key oil facility was damaged in Kuwait, again, due to retaliation from Iranian side. Well, they asked for it, isn't it? Kuwait literally asked for it. They are unable to resist pressure from their US, from the Brits, right, from the Western ruling class. They are giving them opportunity to use their territory to bomb Iran. And Iran is retaliating. And dear friends, Kuwait is also risking big time, because Iran not necessarily even have to send its own militaries to deal with the Kuwait. Shiite militia, Shiite forces in Iraq will do the job, man. All they need is like green light, really. All they need is a green light, and they will go in Kuwait and just to make this territory part of Iraq. That's it, man. You know. So Kuwaiti leadership is either suicidal or just too freaking stupid, allowing Americans to use their territory for targeting Iraq, man. Freaking idiots, honestly. And I think chances that Kuwait will cease to exist are also no any less higher than chances that UAE will cease to exist on a political map. in the way we know it now, at least, right? Also, when it comes to this Iranian retaliatory strikes, well, there are reports, by the way, that two vessels, captains of the two vessels, or the leadership of companies these vessels belong to, probably listen too much of Western propaganda, too much of statements from Trump, Hexet, and people like that, and they ordered there are two vessels to go through Strait of Hormuz, and you guess what happened to those vessels, man, right? You guess what happened to those vessels? Some accidents. IRGC is trolling now, by the way, Western world, right? Accidents with the two ships attempting unsafe route through Strait of Hormuz had occurred, according to IRGC. Four vessels turned off navigation system and tried to cross. Two suffered accidents. You can guess what those accidents were. And others refused to continue the route. They didn't want to meet up close and personal with Iranian drones, I guess, right? So there was a good call there. There was a bad call initially when they tried to when they attempt to pass through Strait of Hormuz without cooperating with the Iranian side. But when they see that two other vessels get smashed, well, at least these captains of these other two made decision, right call, to get out of the area straight away, right, and not take no chances. Once again, information demonstrates who is actually in charge, and it's not United States, by the way. It's Iran, period. And I think truly, by the way, if there was any time for American citizens to wake up and ask some questions, now is the time, right? Because or yesterday was the time, or day before yesterday, but now wouldn't it be bad too if people will wake up? Because I mean, look what is going on, man. Every other week or every other month, U.S. State Department is issuing an alert for U.S. citizens throughout the world to take additional steps for safety and be cautious and so on, because just because they are U.S. citizens, man. These are alert warnings. These are alert warnings for ordinary U.S. citizens that are traveling throughout the world to take additional measures for safety that State Department is issuing. And well, by the way, do you really need a system in a country or the government that endangers you every other week, that acts in such a way that your country has become most hated country in this world, and your lives is being endangered, by the way, and lives of your close ones, right, and your friends and everybody else, your countrymen? Do you really need such a system, such a political system, and such a government that endangers the life of everybody you know and love? What the hell, man? When people gonna wake up in US? Majority, I know tiny minority is waking up, right? And are actually trying to do their best to wake their others. But when majority gonna wake up? This is not normal, man. That US citizens, lives of US citizens being endangered by actions of these terrorists that are representing US today. Deep state, US intelligence, US militaries, US political class. Freaking terrorists and the mass murderers, by the way. That's what they are. Right? Military leadership, let me say it this way. Because, of course, among US militaries, there are many people that join armed forces believing that they're going to serve their own people. They've been misled, right? But nevertheless, they've been just naive, right? So, okay, that's something to keep in mind, obviously. But military leadership, Hexet, mass murderer and genocidal maniac, clearly, by the way, right? And everybody around him. Political leadership of US, well-known genocidal maniacs. US intelligence community, disgrace of humanity, right? Mostly total disgrace of humanity. Deep state, anything but in service of the people. So when they gonna wake up, man, in America? Never? I don't know. I don't know. But looks like people are waking up in other parts of collective West. In Germany, for example, AfD, Alternative for Germany party, is leading and leading quite well, quite big time over their other political parties. So we have some new numbers about the ratings of political parties. So in Germany, the Alternative for Germany party is confidently leading in the public polls. The opposition party, AfD, has once again increased its lead over the ruling CDU CSU bloc, confirming its status as the most popular political force in Germany. Currently, their lead is 8 percentage points. SPD and the Green Party are tied for a third place, each with 13% of the votes, right? And I remind you, dear friends, that AfD is most popular nowhere in Eastern Germany. And you know why is that? Because even though Western world lost to call period of Soviet Union and Warsaw Pact to be period of occupation of Eastern Europe by Soviet forces, although I don't think German people were feeling that occupied, right? And German people were not broke intentionally in their mentality. Soviet Union didn't break mentality of the German people, didn't even try, right? And Germans that were living in Eastern Germany are still Germans, by the way, proud Germans. They acknowledge their fathers and grandfathers of current generations in Eastern Germany. They did acknowledge all the crimes that was committed by Nazi Germany, right? There was denazification programs and stuff in place, right? But yet again, Soviet Union didn't try to break their character, break their backbone of their national character of the German people. And the German people cannot be defined only by this short, very tragic for humanity, but short period of time when this Nazi Germany was existed and committing crimes all over the place. German history goes much further than that, right? And the treatment of Eastern Germans by Soviet Union was such that people maintain their how should I say, man? People maintain their identification, right? Identity. They are proud Germans. While in West Germany, that was occupied by France, US, UK, and France, well, they went for experiments on the psyche of the people. And they transformed their Western Germans into something quite different, right? Quite different. And it is visible. It's virtually visible. If you go in Germany, by the way, I have read about it, or I have seen about it. You can see how the people are different. Psyche of people really are different. Eastern Germans are proud Germans. In Western Germany, by the way, I mean, they hate their own selves, right? Many. They hate Germany. They hate everything about it. And that's why AfD is most popular in Eastern Germany. But little by little, Eastern Germans are waking up their Western brothers, right, and sisters to see their to face the objective reality, right? To face the objective reality. And man, good. Maybe one day Russia and Germany will become allies. That will be nightmare, by the way, for a Western ruling class, right? For Anglo-Saxon elites, let's be more precise. Germany is still occupied, by the way, right? By Anglo-Saxon elites that are leading force in the globalist club. And union or alliance, by the way, some sort of alliance between Germany and Russia is going to be total freaking nightmare for Anglo-Saxon ruling class. Not all Anglo-Saxons, by the way, let's be clear on that, but for a ruling class, right? And therefore, when I see this kind of reports, I want to have some optimistic take that maybe people actually are waking up, right? That's a good stuff, but same time I have a fear that maybe these alternative parties, by the way, the so-called alternative parties that are gaining momentum in Germany, in France, in UK, maybe this is also part of a game that globalists are playing to mess around the psyche of the people, right? While creating illusion of the alternative. Maybe that's going on. I don't know, man. Risk is there for sure, but who knows? Maybe AfD will actually serve the German people, interests of the German people, and in that case, they will de-escalate with Russia because, you tell me what you think, but if you were German, probably you would think that strategical good, first and foremost, de-escalation with Russia, then establishment, no matter how long it will take, of good working relationships with Russia, and then potentially even strategical partnership with Russia will be in the best interests of you, right? If you were German, and of your people and of your country. Am I correct, man? I am, right? So good news there that people in Germany are waking up. Let's hope that Alternative for Germany party not gonna fail them, man. Let's hope for that. And not gonna become a part of or tool of globalists as others are. Either way, this is it. This is it for the news segment, dear friends, for this Sunday. For this Sunday, if you like the news segment, please indicate that, click that like button. And if you are watching after the stream, then leave some commentary. And that's it, really, for a news segment. Now let's go forward with our community chat, right? Let's go forward with our community chat. And well, there was one super chat on Rumble, dear friends. One super chat on Rumble, right? I will highlight now super chat on Rumble. Also, I will highlight this a premium subscription gift card from Viper. Super chat was from Scooby, and there was also recommendations, dear friends. Some recommendations from Christopher. I will highlight that too. And hopefully there will be more super chats or more comments, maybe donations through PayPal, Boosty, so that fundraising part of the stream will also work out. Either way, I will, as I said, man, I will highlight now this premium subscription gift card from Viper. Thank you very much, Viper, for your premium subscription gift card there, which is a $5 donation on Rumble. And also thank you very much, Scooby, for your super chat and the dollar donation. Scooby is commenting, did not the USA just run a campaign to take back control of Iraq before restarting with Iran? Well, there was Iraqi prime minister was in the US, isn't it? Just like a week ago, something like that. There was inside Iraq, there was some operations conducted by Iraqi security forces against a number of prominent politicians under the accusations of corruption and stuff. And there is different opinions on the internet. Was it US attempt to consolidate their influence in Iraq, or Iran was actually increasing its influence in Iran? Difficult to say, but what is factual, Scooby, that majority of Iraq is Shiite Muslims. Majority are Shiites, right? And if necessary, they will fight and they will die for their Iranian Shiite brothers. One have to understand, by the way, in the Middle East, Shiites, many Shiites, I guess, right? This is my guess. I never lived there, but my guess would be that because Shiites are minority in a Muslim world, probably they think like they've been encircled, right? And targeted by radical Sunnis. And there is a tensions between these two groups, by the way, right? Serious tensions. And therefore, Iraqi Shiites most likely will see attack on Iran as attack on them too, on their religion, right? Religious beliefs. And they will do whatever is necessary to protect themselves and to protect Shiites. So therefore, it does not really matter that much if US is 100% in control of prime minister of Iraq, because Iraqi militaries, especially Shiite formations, and the Shiite militia will act in a way they will find it necessary. So if prime minister is on board with them, good. If not, then they would not care, right? But you have a point that US definitely try to mess around Baghdad before this latest wave of escalation was launched. But they're going to fail. They're going to fail, by the way. Iraq is a total failure for US from the beginning, actually, right? They learned nothing. I think US intelligence community, US militaries, they are, they are just leadership at least, right? They are incapable of learning. They are making same mistakes time after time after time after time. That tells you a lot, right? They are relying mostly on their own power, on the tools that they have, assassinations, blackmail, corruption. But these tools never actually work 100% well in favor of US. There's always some circumstances that changes the calculus, right? Every time. But they did not learn. They are incapable of learning, right? So that's what I think. US, there is if you ask me how this Middle Eastern escalation gonna end eventually, of course I will hope, and I'm hoping that Western ruling class will fail, but at the same time, it's not just a hope, but I think giving all the indicators that we have, there is a 60-40, at least 60-40 that Western ruling class would not be successful. Maybe even 70-30. So we will see. We will see. And as I said, dear friends, thank you very much, Viper, once again for your premium subscription gift card on Rumble. And thank you very much, Scooby, for your super chat and the question and the donation on Rumble. And as I said, there was also several donations through PayPal by Christopher, and recommendations that he usually shares with us about some interesting videos about military activities that he come across on different channels. So let me go through these recommendations. Hello, Levano. Here is a video you might want to look at. Ukrainian spies captured in Moscow after brutal combat. Video can be seen on YouTube channel called Fantastic Places. So the community, you can check out this channel for this video. Also, Christopher recommends video on RAX 24, which depicts shocking footage of Kiev regime soldiers' final moments. Well, that could be very difficult video to watch. So sensitive people should keep that in mind. Channel is IRX 24. Maybe, Christopher, you are talking about video in which a Russian soldier went towards a stronghold of Kiev regime alone, right? He get engaged in a close combat. I saw that video yesterday, I believe, on one of the Telegram channels. he get in close combat with this with enemy group. Then he's AK jumped. Sometimes that happens, by the way. Even AKs might jump, and he basically eliminated their enemy in hand combat, in hand-to-hand combat. Brutal video, by the way. Brutal video. Sensitive, extremely sensitive people or very sensitive people should not even attempt to watch it. But if you are not that sensitive, then yeah, you can take a look. It's a war. War is hell, right? So it is what it is. Also, Christopher is recommending channel Murat's Son, where you can see video of Russian Su-34 destroys NATO aircraft depot. Oh, that's interesting. NATO or key regimes aircraft depot. Real war footage there on Murat's Son, dear friends. You can search on YouTube these channels that Christopher is recommending, and you can take a look at this video. Thank you very much, Christopher, for your donations through PayPal and recommendations. And that's been said, dear friends. Let me check. Rumble. Unfortunately, there are no super chats on Rumble as of now to highlight. Maybe there will be some. And also, let me check Boosty. Nothing on a Boosty, unfortunately. And let me check Patreon. Maybe we have new subscribers there. No, unfortunately, no new subscribers. But what I will do now, dear friends, I will go through chat. I will scroll through chat, and I will react on questions or the comments that will be, with capital Q. So I will understand that this is directed to me. And if there is any super chat, meanwhile, or question or the comment through PayPal or Boosty, if we have new subscribers, new members in the Boosty or Patreon community, I will highlight all of it. Obviously, if there is any donations, after all, it's a Sunday big community chat and the fundraising stream. As of now, there was a free this recommendations with the donations from Christopher. It's about $5-6 there. $5 support from Viper with a premium subscription gift card, and $1 donation from Scooby. So as of now, fundraising, in terms of fundraising, we managed to raise $12 approximately out of 200 that originally was intent when I launched this Sunday fundraisings like many months ago. And 3 times we actually managed to reach $200, by the way, 3 times. Anyways, let's scroll through chat. I see question from Harry Hankinen. Is Russia going to surrender to Chabad, Lubavitch, and their oligarchs? I don't know who this Chabad Lubavitch is, but when it comes to Russia, dear friends, Russia is not going to surrender ever, right? But what kind of decisions Russian president will make is anybody's guess, of course. And because I personally don't think he will authorize Russian military and security services to go for restoring deterrent with the collective West, which will require retaliatory strikes on NATO member states, then only other option Putin will have, I guess, is to take whatever offer he will get from Western ruling class today, tomorrow, or day after, right? And I think when that will happen, if that will happen, many people worldwide, including here in Russia, will consider that to be capitulation on behalf of Putin. But yet again, I have said many times before, dear friends, that I think this war will actually end only when Russian troops will be on a border with the Western Ukraine, right? So anything from now to that particular point will be just a temporary measure. So if Putin, for whatever reasons, will accept offer from Western ruling class about with whatever terms they're gonna come up with, right, to de-escalate, then that will be temporary step. That will be temporary de-escalation. I think under the next president, who is not going to be Putin, he's not going to live forever, right? So I think if Putin will sign up for some sort of, if Putin will accept Western conditions or Western, if he will agree on Western demands now to de-escalate, then during the next president, Russia will radicalize. Russian society will radicalize big time. That will have a significant impact inside the country, right, on the political processes. Putin and his inner circle probably gradually will be isolated. They already are isolated, basically. They are clearly out of touch with the society, clearly, right? And this isolation will further increase. Eventually, Putin will be replaced through elections, let's say, by someone else, and this someone else are going to be someone who will literally be elected, going to be elected on the promises that deterrence will be restored with the collective West and dignity will be restored for everybody who will feel they being betrayed and humiliated by whatever agreement Putin going to sign up for. And that means, by the way, war with the West. If Putin signs up for anything right now, with the exception of unconditional surrender of the Kiev regime and its NATO backers, that will trigger radicalization of society here in Russia in such a scale that I think time for Europe will be, it will be final countdown for Europe, because then Russia will go for war, right? If now demand is to restore justice, to serve the justice, right? We've been attacked by NATO member states. Let's strike back, right? They are attacking us. Let's strike back. We did not initiate this, but well, we've been targeted, so let's strike back. That's their attitude in a society, right? In a big part of society here. We don't want war with Europe. We don't want full-scale war with Europe, right? All we want is to restore the terror, to restore and to retaliate on NATO member states that were directly engaged and in a mass killing of the Russian citizens and their strikes on Russia. Now we demand retaliations and deterrence to be restored. But if Putin signs up for anything other than unconditional surrender of the Kiev regime and its Western backers, that will trigger such a processes, by the way, that in 5 to 10 years from now, majority here in Russia will be on the page of launching a war, full-out war on NATO. Even if that means full-scale nuclear exchange and extinction level event, because you do not humiliate nuclear power body. You just don't do that, right? You cannot humiliate you should not humiliate any society, by the way, and any country, because we know what happened after the First World War, right? When Germany and German society was humiliated by Anglo-Saxon elites, right? They put Germany and German society in such a position that society went from calm stage, relatively calm stage, into extreme mode, right? Into totally extreme mode. And it only took like a dozen of years, right? And Germany, and we know what Germany became. And I'm not making comparison with the Third Reich, by the way, right? I'm just telling you, I'm just sharing clear example, one of the most clearest examples what is happening with societies and countries when they've been humiliated. And so it is tremendous risk, by the way. Western ruling class probably does not freaking understand that. But they are risking big time because if they manage to persuade Putin, let's say, to sign up for anything right now, other than, as I said, an unconditional surrender of the Kiev regime and its NATO backers, that will trigger such a processes here in Russia that eventually we will actually end up in an all-out war with Europe. And it's going to be hell on earth, man. It's going to be hell on earth. Europe, as we know, it will cease to exist, literally. Literally, by the way. It's, God forbid, man. God forbid, that will be the trajectory that things will go. Because Europe, as we know, it will literally cease to exist. Whole Europe will turn into post-apocalyptic scenery, man. Right? Hell on earth. That's what's going to happen. Whole planet might go that way too. That's how dangerous the situation is, actually, right? And therefore, I still want to have a little hope that Russian president understands the complexity of the situation, and he will let Russian militaries and security services to retaliate on these freaking enemies, right? On the Western ruling class and the legit targets in NATO member states, because this is absolutely necessary, by the way, to avoid even bigger escalation in the future, in the near future. I hope I'm explaining well enough, by the way, right? What my take is on the matter, or how I read the big picture, right? Let's continue. Let's continue with the chat. Oh, there was a super chat, dear friends. I will react on super chat now, if I may, and then I will continue with the. What? Scooby is commenting. Thank you very much, Scooby, for your super chat and the $2 donation on Rumble. And Scooby is commenting my anecdotal observation of comments and the political commentary is a hatred of Putin within the and without Russia. This is what the West want, no? If I understand correctly, you are asking, is when West wants hatred to be generated towards Putin? No. A demonization of Putin, by the way, is a part of a campaign, media campaign, that is on one hand designed to help Western ruling class to rally the masses behind the flag in the West, right? While demonizing Putin and Russia and all that. But on the other hand, while targeting Putin, of course, they are creating excuse for Putin and his supporters. And Putin also has, by the way, massive army of specialists around him that are working on the public relations, right? To keep society here in Russia brainwashed in a specific directions. This brainwashing is not really working that effectively, but one of the talking points of this Putin's team of PR, public relations, is that, you see, West is demonizing Putin. West is demonizing Putin. I mean, so therefore we have to rally around the Putin. You see, it's a complex games, right? That Western ruling class is engaged in, because I mean, let's be real, by the way, Putin and his inner circle is a dream team for the West. No, objectively, by the way, right? I'm not exaggerating, nothing. Can you imagine I mean, if I told you, Scooby, 10 years ago that NATO member states will orchestrate daily long-range attacks on the Russian Federation, literally daily long-range attacks on the Russian Federation. If I would tell you that NATO member states will be directly engaged and guilty of death of tens of thousands of Russian citizens, if I would tell you 10 years ago, just 10 years ago, that NATO countries would target Russian nuclear triad not just once, not just twice, not just 3 times, but at this point, I don't know, like dozens of times, while destroying in the process strategical aviation assets, and Russia will do nothing, and Putin will not retaliate on the West, Putin will not authorize security services and militaries to retaliate, would you believe me, Scooby, honestly? If I told all of this that we know is reality now, if I told this to you 10 years ago, would you believe me? No, you would not, man. No one would, right? No one would believe this. But this is actually happening. So you tell me now, is Putin not a dream? Is Putin and his inner circle not a dream team for the Western ruling class? Of course they are, man. Right? Of course they are. Question is, they are dream team willingly or unwillingly? That's the question. And if I was a head of counterintelligence service, I will definitely conduct necessary investigations on this matter. I think it is absolutely necessary to conduct investigations around everybody, actually, that is leaving some questions, right? But I'm not a head of counterintelligence, right? And I can imagine that Putin appointed on the top positions in FSB, in the counterintelligence, in defense ministry, and elsewhere, people that will never, ever do anything that he would not like, right? Let's put it this way. But nevertheless, man, these guys are dream team for the West, what we are talking about. So no, if you think West wants people to go against Putin here in Russia, not really. For many years, by the way, this strategy of the West actually worked quite well. And Putin's PR team did use this talking point that, look, West is going after Putin, so therefore we have to unite around Putin. For many years, for 2 decades, basically, right? This talking point worked quite well in favor of Putin and his team. But now this talking point is failing. Now this talking point is failing because more and more people are, including people that used to be Putin supporters, by the way, are realizing that, for God's sake, man, willingly or unwillingly, but Putin and his team, they are dream team for the West, man. Because how anyone would ever imagine that we've been struck by NATO countries on a daily basis and we would never, ever retaliate? This is nonsense, by the way. This is literal nonsense, right? Nonsense. This should not be a reality, but it is a reality. I mean, it is what it is, right? So Western ruling class would prefer to keep Putin in the position of power and his team for as long as possible, because chances that other president of Russia will allow West to kill Russians and destroy Russia with total impunity is like next to zero. Or very little, right? Not as such, at least, done right now, when the West literally kills Russians, destroys Russia, infrastructure, everything they want, with total, absolute impunity. It's crazy, man. It's crazy what is going on, right? So that's what I think. The question I have is, Putin and his team are willingly dream team of Western ruling class or unwillingly, right? And to have an answer on that question, of course, investigation has to be conducted. A real investigation, right? A real serious investigation. And I believe there will be time will come when such investigations will take place, and we will have our answers. Quite sure about it, man. Quite sure. There was right now, dear friends, there was another premium subscription gift card from a Viper, and another super chat from Scooby. Let me highlight, dear friends, and then I will continue with scrolling through the chat. Let me also check Musti. Subscribe to my Patreon, dear friends. I have a latest video that I published is a video about recent one-day trip to St. Petersburg. I try to depict the literal trip, by the way, from morning to the evening, right? So you can see St. Petersburg from angles that you might never have seen before. Check it out. So links to my Patreon is under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And let's highlight now. Once again, Viper, thank you very much for your what? Goodness me, man. Viper, thank you very much for your 20 subscription gift cards, which is a $100 donation, right? Which is a $100 donation to this project. Thank you very much, Viper, for this generous donation to this project. Thank you very much. I appreciate your support. Thank you, Viper. I lost for words, man. You can see my initial reaction, isn't it, when I saw 20 there. Thank you very much, Viper. Thank you. And Scooby is commenting, thank you very much, Scooby, for your super chat on Rumble and another $2 donation. And Scooby is commenting, Russia just looks weak and stupid. Chinese and Indians are even treating Russia differently now. Well, we look weak. We definitely look weak due to policies of our leadership, our political leadership. I'm not going to argue with that because yet again, I mean, the whole world sees, isn't it, what I just spoke about, that Russia is being targeted by NATO countries on a daily basis, and we are not retaliating, right? Because Putin is not giving the green light to Russian securities and militaries to retaliate. And we do look weak, and I can also see that attitude towards Russia is shifting, changing in the world, right? We no longer being seen as a heavyweight, unfortunately. We just no longer being seen as a heavyweight by countries that are at least neutral or friendly to us, or at least nominally, right? And this is a very unfortunate reality, but nevertheless, it is a reality. And that's what happens, when you are beaten, when you've been attacked time and again and again and again, and when you are not even attempting to defend yourself, right, or to retaliate on your enemy, then attitude towards you're gonna change, right? Yeah, that's where we are. This is a tragic reality, unfortunate reality. No one should have any doubts, dear friends, that Russian security services and militaries can restore the terror with the collective West within a very short time, maybe even within 24 hours, right? But definitely within a very short time. They need green light to do so. And unfortunately, as it looks, as we all seen, by the way, they are not receiving this green light from political leadership, from Vladimir Putin, who is the president of Russia, right? And I'm afraid, as long as Vladimir Putin is the president of Russia, Russian security and militaries will not receive green light to restore deterrent with the collective West. That's my fear, by the way, right? I hope I'm wrong on that. I really hope so, but Objectively speaking, I don't see any indicators how I can be wrong, right? Because it's a fifth year of this conflict, and if Putin did not authorize Russian militaries and security services to restore deterrent with the collective West until now, then why would he do this from now on? I mean, I don't know. I don't know, but unfortunately, we are losing on international arena big time. Obviously, right? It's a massive reputational damage that is done to Russia. It's not just a damage when it comes to infrastructure. It's not just tragedies that are happening when citizens of Russian Federation are killed and injured as a result of these NATO attacks, right? Of these attacks that are orchestrated, let me say this way, by NATO member states. But we are also facing tremendous reputational damage on international scale. I mean, this is true. If anyone says otherwise, that someone is either does not know better or just lies. And no matter how painful or unpleasant, the truth is we have to face the truth, right? We have to face objective reality if we want to be effective, right? If we want to have at least chance to change something. Because if you are not acknowledging that there is a certain issues there, then you would not even attempt to deal with this. So yeah, you have a point there, Scooby, that attitude towards us is changing on a world scale and will continue to change, not in a better way, as long as the Western ruling class is capable of targeting Russia with total impunity. It's just very painful reality that we are facing. And there was another super chat, dear friends, on a Rumble from Scooby. Let me react on these two. There is another super chat from Scooby. Thank you very much, Scooby, for your super chat, and another $2 donation. And Scooby is commenting AI and their chips, biotech, post-fossil energy and space are where nations will dominate the future. I don't really see Russia in the mix. Do you? Maybe Russia is not a future heavyweight like most. I mean, most are not future heavyweights, Scooby. There is only a few countries that have objective capabilities, objective means, right, to be heavyweight in the fields that you mentioned there. Majority of countries will never get even close to their heavyweight position. Russia definitely has a tremendous potential. Russia definitely has tremendous potential to be successful in all of the fields that you mentioned. AI and chips, by the way, right? You know why we don't have a good enough chip production? Because it's extremely expensive. Because Russia right now is basically wild capitalist state. Wild capitalist state. It's not profitable. No one should think that we are unable to build proper chips. We can, by the way, but it never going to be profitable, right? So state constantly have to invest in this, right? This Russian production never going to go global because it will be extremely difficult to compete with their giants, right? From China, from West, from Taiwan, and so on, right? And that's the only reason, by the way. There is no financial incentive on behalf of capitalists, let's say, or oligarchs to invest in the field that potentially will never make profits because Russian population is only 150 million, by the way, right? Around. This is a too small a market. Too small. You can add a little bit more from different markets. Okay, let's say 300 million. Let's say we doubled our reach, right? 300 million, not enough, by the way, right? Not enough. Chinese chip manufacturers to be profitable, they went global, right? Even Chinese domestic market potentially was not enough to that's how expensive this field is, right? If you have if you want to have a full chain of production. And by the way, there is a solution. There is a solution. We have to change our system. I was always against existence of multinational corporations. I was always against the existence of monopolies. I was always against the existence of this massive conglomerates in business that are sort of acting as independent players. No, anything above small and medium sized business have to be state run. Anything, and you might say, well, that's a communistic idea. I don't care. But anything above medium and small and medium business has to be state run. Has to be state run, by the way. And in that case, state will invest. Soviet Union was investing in a technology because everything was run by state, literally everything. And it was easy to deal with this situation. But now, what are you going to do? You're going to tell oligarchs to invest in a field that will never be profitable for them? They're not going to invest, by the way. And that's why advanced chip manufacturing here in Russia is very little. It needs to be scaled up, right? Massively. It demands tens of billions of dollars of investments in the next 5, 10, 15 years. And only state can do this because it is in the state's interests, right? As you rightfully noticed, future is bright for nations that will be in leading positions when it comes to AI and chips, biotech, post-fossil energy, and space. You are absolutely correct. So therefore, states should invest, right, in these matters. But because we are a wild capitalist state now, it's all up to private entrepreneurs. Will they invest or not? And they will not, by the way, right? And even though there is such a feature like state-run businesses here in Russia, corporations, if you dig in those corporations, Gazprom and Rosneft and so on, if you dig in, who is their shareholders actually? It's not just the state. You will find out that it's not just the states. Even these so-called corporations, state-run corporations, are not actually state-owned 100%. This has to change. This has to change, right? And if we will have one day government that will actually make necessary changes, then I think we have a good enough prospects to be successful in all the fields that you just mentioned. In AI, in chips, biotech, post-fossil energy. I mean, when it comes to post-fossil energy, I think Russian scientists, by the way, are on the leading positions when it comes to fusion reactors, right? After all, first Tokamak, or whatever the name is of that reactor, where experiments were conducted with the fusion, was created in the Soviet Union, right? And first particle accelerator actually also, I believe, was created in the Soviet Union. But anyways, we have a potential. We have a intellectual potential and everything else needed to be successful in this field. So all we have to do is neutralize oligarchy class. Just neutralize oligarchy class, by the way, right? And make state a little more effective. And they're a little more focused on actual needs of the people, right? Totally capitalistic system will never ever work for people, by the way. It's just not happening, right? Because capitalists don't care about people. They only care about profits. So we have to make this change, right? From this wild capitalism towards more socially responsible state system. when we will have our private businesses, private entrepreneurs, small and medium business should be, should have every opportunity to thrive, right? Every opportunity to thrive. But as long as company is reaching certain level, state should go in, right? Take over, because at that point, this company will start causing threat to society if it's too big, right? Because they're gonna go, they are full profit, right? They are full profit oriented entity, and because they are big now, their pursuit of money might actually harm people instead of helping people. So state have to go in, take over. That will give more incentives to everybody to do small and medium businesses, right? And to do your job as best as you can, right? And stay in business, by the way, right? But when it comes to natural resources, land, anything on it, right? Everything should be state. No private or even a single penny, right? In a energy sector. It all should be private. When it comes to medicines and the Medicare and the production of all sorts of medicines. What is the name, by the way? Pharmaceutical industry. There should be no private companies there, by the way, because you can see in the West what happens when private companies are taking over the sector. They are basically giving people poison. In order to make profits, they are poisoning people intentionally, right? Intentionally. They know this drug is not safe, but they will give it to people anyways, right? Because they don't care. They're going to make money on that. And when people will get sick, they will need more drugs, right? And these pharmaceuticals will make even more money on that. So pharmaceutical industry should be state-run, 100%, by the way. And same goes for many, many other sectors. That's what I think, right? And if we adopt a more reliable, more adequate political and economical system, I think Russia has every chances to be among heavyweights. But right now, as things stand under the current system, unfortunately, our chances are quite small. Right now, under the current system, difficult to be optimistic that we're going to maintain positions, or we're going to be heavyweights or leading positions in the fields that you mentioned. US, China, yeah, they are investing big, by the way. Europe tries to do something, but Europe is doomed too, because they are even in bigger trouble than Russia is, right? They have to change even more things in Europe in order to be successful. But US and China, yes, they are. India, by the way, is also will catch up sometime in the future. But right now, US and China are leading this field. US because of the absence of any principles and morality, and that gives certain advantages to American companies, right? Inhumanity is being transformed into profitability in the West. China operates differently, right? In Chinese operations, ideology still plays key role. And you can see this. I mean, take a look at the China, by the way, last 30, 40 years, tremendous jump in the quality of life of the people. So therefore, I mean, no one can make argument that in China, elites only care about themselves. It's not true, because look at the life of Chinese people, how much it has improved, by the way, in the last 2, 3, 4 decades. It's like 2 different universes, correct? In US, it's opposite process. Quality of life is actually deteriorating for majority, while rich is getting richer and richer and richer and richer. And this inhumane approach that is being developed in the West, of course, gives US certain advantages. US corporations, let's say, right? Chinese have other advantages, and to be competitive, Russia needs to change current political and economical system. Otherwise, we will be left behind big time. But we have a potential. We have everything to be successful, right? Will we be successful? I don't know. But we have everything to be successful in this field. But tremendous changes are needed for that. Thank you for sharing. And dear friends, there was also let me highlight, dear friends, also this. Scooby, thank you very much for your premium subscription gift card on Rumble, which is a $5 donation. Of course, every such a gift card is a $5 donation. Also, Scooby, thank you for your super chat and the dollar donation. And Scooby is commenting, Mazzucato entrepreneurial state. You are commenting on my take, how we can succeed in those fields, isn't it? That medium and small businesses are free to run. Anything goes on the scale of corporation, like big, very big, state should get involved. And yes, in many ways, it is an entrepreneurial state. Yes, sir, and I think it can be successful. I think with a good enough managerial school, with a proper, adequate moral principle stance, entrepreneurial state can actually succeed. It has to be mixed, right? Because corporations, these multinational corporations that are all about profit, they're never going to serve humanity's best interests. It's just impossible, right? But state, whole essence of existence of the state is to serve people. There is no other reason why states exist. Only reason why states exist is to serve people, to provide people. And therefore, chances that states will do better job with such a system when there is private business, private capital, medium, small business. Good luck, feel free to do stuff, but you cannot allow these massive corporations to exist and operate solely based on profits. It just cannot be, right? It's going to be harmful to everybody. So I think, yes, Mazzucato, this term is new for me. I don't know what that even means, but I shared my take on the matter, which direction we should go, and if that's the terminology that's used there in regards to model that I just highlighted, then okay. Entrepreneurial state, yes, it sounds quite correct. And also there was another recommendation from Christopher, dear friends. Hello everyone, here is a video you might like to look at. Extreme raid, Russian special forces storm Ukrainian positions near Kupiansk. Video can be seen on YouTube channel called Military Update. Thank you very much, Christopher, for your recommendation and for your donation, and for sharing with us information about some interesting videos whenever you come across those on different platforms. Thank you. And dear friends, let's scroll through chat. Let's scroll through chat. Let's see if I'm capital Q or capital letters, dear friends, will let me know straight away that commentary is directed to me. And my apologies if I missed your question or the comment, because I'm scrolling faster there. Um, looking for these capital Qs. I see this capital Q. You see, dear friends, I spotted it. Christopher Sorella is commenting. Did you know George Soros is turning 96 on the 12th of August? He's on the celebrity death poll 2026. I don't know how old there is he, but he's a disgraceful human being, that's for sure. So much evil has been done by George Soros and his henchmen throughout the world that it's hard to comprehend. I mean, total evil creature, by the way, absolutely evil creature that Soros and his henchmen are. That can I say? I did not know that he is getting 96, or maybe yeah, he will go to hell this year. Who knows? There was a there was a there was a super chat, dear friends, another super chatter on Rumble from Scooby. Let me highlight, if I may. Thank you very much, Scooby, for your super chat and the dollar donation on Rumble. And Scooby is commenting, economist Mariana Mazzucato is famous for arguing that the state can play role in the bottom of their innovation as curves in their economy. It's basically what you said. Thank you for sharing, Scooby. I'm not an economist, so I'm not familiar with all sorts of theories out there. But we all have our ideas, isn't it? We our own ideas that are based on our understanding how things should be, and every now and then we might actually come up with some idea that has been described by professionals in the field, right? As it is the case right now with this economist, Marina Mazzucato, and her argument, right, and her take. So yes, I think this can be effective. This can be done. That state is involved in economical activity because state will invest in the projects that are absolutely vital for society, while even if those projects are never going to become profitable, while private business, fully private business, will never do that because they are for-profit organizations, right? So thank you for sharing, Scooby. I did not knew about this, but you see, we every now and then we have ideas that also have been generated in minds of other people, right? And there are those some of those other people might actually be professionals in the field, and they describe their take, or they describe the view or idea in much more professional manner, which is good. Which is good. Faris Chuck is commenting, if you can't stand the long-range missile strikes, how can you ask nuclear war? No, you don't understand, Faris Chuck, what I'm talking about. We are talking about justice, right? No one is saying, by the way, that these long-range attacks on Russian Federation are scaring anybody. That's where this, I don't know, man. Maybe my English is not that good, right? Not maybe, for sure, my English is not that good, but every now and then I come across such comments, right? When people are indicating that, well, you are whining about these long-range attacks, and then asking for retaliatory strikes or escalation when more attacks might come. No one is whining about nothing, right? We want justice. That's all it is, man. It's too much to ask. We've been attacked by NATO member states. We want NATO member states to be attacked too. That's all it is, man. If anybody thinks that with these long-range attacks, they're going to scare Russian people, I mean, Western ruling class, no, they would not be able to scare Russian people ever. Neither now, neither ever, by the way, right? Nazi Germans were not able to scare the people here in Russia, right? Or Soviet people. Nazi Germans were not able to do so, so definitely no one going to be able to. But we are talking about justice to be served. We are talking about the deterrent to be restored with the collective West. And it don't have to be nuclear necessarily. All we have to do is strike back with conventional weapons, send a clear message, you continue on this path, well, we will retaliate now, right? And I'm quite sure, by the way, Western ruling class will stop messing around quite quickly, because they're gonna come up under the pressure in the West, right? When every now and then, let's say, hundreds of Russian drones and missiles will start flying over Berlin, London, Munich, right? Or you name it, Rome, Paris. You think locals would appreciate that? Honestly, you think locals in Europe will appreciate that? And will be happy that Russian drones and missiles are flying above? No, I think they wouldn't be happy about it, and they will ask question, what the hell? Well, why Russian missiles are flying here? Why this facility was destroyed? Why this base was eliminated? What's going on? And maybe at that point, these people will start asking questions. Holy moly, man! These idiots in our government were bombing, participating in attacks on Russia for 5 years, and only now Russia start retaliating. And hopefully those people that will wake up in Europe suddenly will put some more pressure on their freaking idiots in the government to act adequately. But it's about justice. You are walking on a street and someone, or someone's, by the way, while passing by, attacked you. What you will do? Would you just stand like that and, come on, beat me up? That's what your reaction going to be? No. You're going to try to kill them all, man. Right? I'll certainly try to, maybe not kill them all, but to send them to hospital for sure, right? At least. So that the rest of their lives, they will work for pharmaceutical companies. That's what I would try, at least, to do. Maybe some of them will die in the process. I would not care, man. It's a self-defense, right? That's all it is. Life is life, right? Individual person or the state, principles are the same. Our country being attacked, our people being attacked, we have to retaliate, period. And if it, I don't know, man. Do I have to argue that that's how it should be done? You've been attacked, you are retaliating. It's just as simple as that. If you don't retaliate, you're going to be attacked more and more and more, and more people going to die, and more infrastructure going to die. And eventually, I already explained what that might cause, right? Radicalization of the society, fundamental changes that will eventually lead to even bigger conflict. That might trigger potentially an extinction level event. But, well, if someone does not understand what I'm talking about, then sorry. I mean, English is not my first language, and not second, and not even third, man. So it is what it is. I'm trying my best to explain what I think. And many members of our community have no issues, by the way, to understand me. But I guess some others do have issue to understand me. Nitish Kumar is commenting, Levant, breaking news. So they are saying Israel PM son assassination plotter folded in Miami. Oh, really, man? When it comes to Israel, I don't buy nothing. Israeli Prime Minister's son's assassination plot. I don't buy into this, man. Yet another, I don't know, false logger, narrative, something like that. Let's see, after the stream, I will check media, what Russian media is saying about it, or Russian alternative sources. But when it comes to Israel, I don't buy nothing, right? I don't take nothing on a face value. And neither I care, by the way. I mean, Israeli leadership is guilty of total inhumanity and numerous crimes against humanity, actually. So they deserve any level of punishment. That's how I see it. Oh, um, um, um. Once again, dear friends, I'm scrolling fast in the chat. On the StreamYard, if you have done streams, you know on the StreamYard, on the right corner, there is a window in which you can see chat, comments from the chat, sir, from all platforms that you are streaming simultaneously. I see comments from YouTube and Rumble, and I'm scrolling, looking for a capital Q, and I might miss it. I see right now a comment from Sashimi Kuder. What do you think of Russia's red lines, sir? No missile strikes on Kremlin, no attack Red Square during the V-Day, but everything else is kosher. Where is their memorial for 20 million Russians' death in the 90s? In 90s? Sashimi Kudo, first and foremost, I want to react on the letter that you sent like a week ago, isn't it? It was interesting reading. Thank you for taking your time to write that letter in interesting form, right? I will disagree with the scenario there, but nevertheless, it was good reading. Unfortunately, or maybe that was intentional, your letter was sent not as a letter on which you can reply, but as a sort of a document. And therefore, I could not reply to it. I tried, but I could not reply to it. But I will mention it right now. So thank you for taking time while writing that later. When it comes to this particular question of yours, red lines, I don't think Putin has any red lines, really. It's not about what people think right now about red lines, where those red lines should be. It's not about what Russian military think about it, not about what Russian securities think about it. It's all about what Putin thinks about it, because he is a commander-in-chief. And there is a subordination in place, right? Logically, we can all come up with the red lines, right? Based on rationality and logic. And with whatever red lines we might come up, all of them were crossed. All of them. Already by NATO member states. So therefore, Putin probably has no red lines. There is no circumstances in which he will authorize Russian security services and militaries to restore the deterrent with the collective West. That's my personal take. I hope I am wrong on that, by the way, but it's a fifth year of this conflict, right? Western countries committed so many acts of war against Russia with total impunity that I find it impossible now to believe that Putin will change his policy. I just find it extremely hard to believe that suddenly Putin will just change his policy now. So there is no red lines for him, I guess, right? And you mentioned attacks on Red Square and attacks on the Kremlin. Well, Kremlin was attacked, isn't it? Kremlin was already targeted by Kiev regime and its NATO backers. Remember, there was a drone strikes on the Kremlin a few years ago. That is, it was 2022, 2026, free. You can find video actually on internet. Quite sure about it. Kremlin was attacked, and that means Red Square was attacked too, because Kremlin is right next to Red Square. If you mean Red Square was not attacked during their Victory Day celebration, even if Kiev regime would attack Red Square during the Victory Day celebration, I don't think Putin will authorize Russian security services and militaries to strike back on NATO member states that are involved in these attacks. Maximum what he will authorize is strikes on Kiev-controlled territory, and we can strike on Kiev-controlled territory as all day long. I mean, always, every day, from morning to evening, and then during the night time. But that would not stop long-range attacks on Russia, because those drones and missiles are produced in the West, in NATO countries, right? And as long as anybody is left there in Ukraine that can be used by the West for a plausible deniability sake, right? That to blame them that they launched these drones, not us, these long-range attacks will continue, you see? Maximum what we can actually achieve with the long-range attacks on Kiev-controlled territory is to create some inconveniences for the Western ruling class, that's all. But they would not care much about. They will continue to harm Russian people and the Russian Federation as much as they possibly can. Only way we can stop them is if we will go for retaliation. That's how it is, and yeah, you know. So for Putin, there is no red lines. I don't think he has any red lines, man. I really don't. Sashimikudo is commenting, Levan, in the US, 80% of infrastructure is equal to slums deteriorating, but the 20% where the rich live have a greater infrastructure. Their Versailles peace are all that matters in the US. Ukraine, Russia burning is a sport to watch. You mentioned Versailles peace, right? And that's exactly what Western ruling class wants to do with Russia, correct? And when it comes to US, deteriorating infrastructure in the US, I don't know percentages, obviously, but I'm monitoring the situation as much as possible. I know there is significant decline in investments when it comes to infrastructure in the US, infrastructure that is used by ordinary people, right? And same goes for European countries. Maybe not as in a scale as it is in US, but European countries also are deteriorating in terms of infrastructure and quality of life. Based on what I have read on the matter out there on internet, right? And what I have seen. Yet again, it's up to our members from community, from US, from European countries to give us better understanding of the situation, because they live in those countries, right? I'm not. I live in Russia, so my take on these specific topics cannot be as accurate as a take of members of our community that actually live in those Western countries. But that I think, yes, there is objective reasons to believe that there is deterioration, because yet again, man, these for-profit corporations and forces or groups of special interests that are basically running the show in the West, they don't care about ordinary people. Never did, never will. That's that. And with the deterioration of the political system, there is not even incentive now in the West to at least act, right, that they care. In our 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, at least there was attempt, right, to pretend that they care. But now they don't even pretend, man. Trump is openly saying in US that he does not care, sir, what ordinary Americans will do, you know, and how much they will pay for this or that. He says it publicly, and he don't cares, man, right? He's being honest. He don't care. So why should anybody think that he cares, man? Why? Why should anybody be that naive to think that those so-called elites in the West actually care about people, man? They don't. Never did. Let's there was dear friends comments, you see. Okay, there was a super chat, dear friends, on Rumble, and I will highlight that now. And I'm going to tell you a story, dear friends. After this, I'll tell you a story about yesterday. What happened straight after live stream. It was something, man. Atomic Ray, thank you very much for your super chat on Rumble and the $5 donation. And Atomic Ray indicated that there was a comment above the super chat that he wanted the reaction to. And thank you very much, Atomic Ray, once again for your super chat and $5 donation. And commenter, I believe, is this one, right? Can I have your perspective on the Chernobyl and what went wrong? I believe the West hacked, scattered, and self-destructed the reactor. That is why I believe Putin is very slow to roll out chips. Confidence in its performance and not push it for a profit. So that's what Atomic Ray is commenting, and well, when it comes to chips, it is about performance. Those chips have to be advanced, very advanced, and we are able to produce chips. Atomic Ray, we are able to produce chips, but in quite limited quantities, right? Because yet again, to go on mass scale, it will require tremendous investments that private sector are not going to do because of market limitations, right? And to go global, it's somewhat impossible right now because the market is already divided between the giants. So when it comes to chips, I think only way forward in this regard is state to be invested, state to do the job, right? Because private sector will not. When it comes to Chernobyl, well, I have heard, this is not the first time, I've heard information that there was a Western provocation in regards to Chernobyl nuclear power plant. There are different scenarios out there on the internet. Why would West do this? One that I can remember right now, for example, is that while orchestrating this destruction in Chernobyl, they forced Soviet Union to waste Soviet Union that was already experiencing some financial economical difficulties to spend a tremendous volume of money, by the way, right, on containing this catastrophe. And obviously it cost billions and billions and billions, right? But I don't really have a stronger opinion on that, really. Officially, we know what has happened officially, right? There was a testing on the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, on that reactor that blew up. Testing went wrong because that specific reactor And it was known, allegedly, it was already known to a number of experts that that specific reactor, in a certain circumstances, in order, instead of shutting down, will actually accelerate chain reaction, right? Will accelerate chain reaction, and that will might then, theoretically speaking, go into uncontrolled reaction and their cause explosion. That's exactly what happened. But staff on the Chernobyl nuclear power plant didn't knew that this reactor can do this kind of stuff, this particular design. This was depicted in quite a few documentaries on the case. There was a official investigation too, and yeah, I'm more inclined to believe that these early reactors were, or older generation of reactors, were not as safe as the new ones right now. Today, Rosatom produces nuclear reactors that no matter what you do, you cannot cause explosion. No matter what you do to reactor, you wouldn't be able to cause meltdown or explosion, right? You just cannot. There's too many levels of safety in the place. But this is now. And changes began in reactor designs immediately after Chernobyl tragedy. And well, obviously, I can't believe that there's a possibility of outside involvement in Chernobyl tragedy, but I'm not sure about it. Probably it was just a tragic accident. But yet again, maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe I'm wrong on that, and there was an outside influence. I just honestly don't have a strong opinion on that because I don't have enough knowledge on the subject to have this strong opinion. So, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Atomic Ray, for sharing. And you also mentioned there that there is some cautiousness on behalf of Russian leadership in terms of chips, because of this risk of hacking. And I can see this argument too, but nevertheless, progress is moving in a certain direction. Technological development is moving in certain directions, and we cannot just stand still, right? We have to be on the same level with the time, right? As time goes by, otherwise we will struggle to compete, right? We will struggle to maintain relevance. So no matter the risks, we have to develop AIs, we have to develop chips, we have to develop advanced technologies. We have to be careful. Everybody have to be careful, right? With AIs, especially when things will get closer to artificial general intelligence, because that's a whole different ball game, isn't it? Artificial general intelligence is going to be beginning. Once artificial general intelligence is created, I think that will be the beginning of a new era for the humanity, literally, right? And hopefully we will manage to coexist. Thank you very much once again for sharing and for your super chatter. And right now, dear friends, I see super chatter on Rumble from the Model Scatter. Let me highlight, dear friends. Demo the Scatter, thank you very much for your $10 donation through Super Chat on Rumble, and comment from these. Thanks for your hard work, keeping the community updated. Thank you very much once again for your kind words, for your support and attention. Thank you. I appreciate your support. Thank you. And dear friends, let's continue with the chat. We are having a good conversation, isn't it? Hopefully you liked the news segment. Hopefully it was informative enough. And now we just having a chat, friendly chat. By the way, it's a Sunday, right? Traditional Sunday community chat. And in terms of fundraising, today's fundraising part of today's stream is also one of the best that this project has experienced. We did not reach $200, but thanks to generous donations of members of our community, today we have way above $100, around 150. So that's definitely success on part of fundraising too. Thank you all, dear friends, for this. Thank you. And let me scroll. I see this comment from Christopher Levan. Are you keeping track on how much money you have made on a fundraiser? Accidentally, I just spoke about it right now. And can you tell me, combined, there was 20 super chats from premium subscription gift cards from Viper. That's a $100 donation. Also, there was just now there was a donation from D Modoscatter. There was donations. $130, $140. Anna just counted, and we did manage to raise about $130, $140 during the stream, accumulating all donations or super chats, everything, premium subscription, gift cards. So that's you know, I will count that as a success, obviously, for today's live stream, for today's fundraising. And thank you all, dear friends. Thank you all for your support, and that's about it then. This is it. Almost 3 hours, 2 hours and 37 minutes of live stream. I hope you liked it, dear friends. I hope you liked the chatter. I hope you liked the news segment. And dear friends, have a wonderful day and take care. Thank you all once again for your support and attention. Thank you very much.